Alright guys, today we are going to be reacting to that moment I realized feminism is a lie. Jump in.
I used to believe that feminism is a great thing, just like most women and maybe even most people. But obviously, I changed my mind since I've made multiple videos addressing the dangers of modern feminism. And since it's apparently very uncommon for a woman to be skeptical of feminism, lots of people ask me when I started hating my own kind. Which is a great question. I'm kidding, of course, because being critical of feminism doesn't equal hating women. The fact that I even have to explain this is ridiculous, but unfortunately, it's necessary in the world we live in today. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to tell you why I thought feminism was a good thing, and more importantly, the moment I realized it was all a lie. To give you some context, this is where I live, the Netherlands. I grew up in a very progressive country, so of course in school we also got taught about feminism. But when I was a kid, feminism wasn't promoted as extremely as it is now. It was more like men and women are all equal, and women can do everything a man can do. And if you follow me for a while now, then you probably know that I think the last one is debatable, since there are natural differences between men and women. But when I was a kid, this message of women can do everything a man can do really resonated with me because I was such a tomboy. I was always hanging out with boys, getting into mischief, climbing trees, and just doing all kinds of typical boy stuff. I wasn't the stereotypical girl at all, and I didn't like it when people treated me like one. I didn't want to play with dolls, I wasn't into makeup or fashion until I was like 16, and to be completely honest, I'm still not that into it. So I always really envied boys because they got to do all of the stuff that I wanted to do. At the same time, I was also a very sensitive and empathetic child, which are often seen as more feminine traits. But there wasn't too much room for that because my father always pushed me very hard in school and in sports. He really wanted me to be successful, and he almost kind of
Yeah, that's what a lot of fathers do, right? A lot of fathers, I understand where they're coming from, but what they do is instead of pushing them to be good moms, good nurturers, good, which is a very homemakers, they push them to be boys basically.
treated me
Especially the boomers, huh? Especially the boomers.
like I was his firstborn son. And therefore, when I was younger, I used to be extremely ambitious. I wanted to have a very successful career and make lots of money. And I wanted to do all of that while being on a national field hockey team as well. And while doing all of that, I also thought I could be a great mother. Because that is what I saw on TV. And not only on TV, of course. Because there is feminist indoctrination everywhere. The stories of today are almost always based on a strong female character. A girl who has to make it in a male-dominated world. And she always has such a disadvantage just because she's a girl. But she ends up succeeding anyway, despite all odds. And when it comes to romantic stories, it's always the girl who challenges the guy that she likes. And that's what makes him fall in love with her. But what did that teach me? Basically that I need to have a successful career in order to be respected by society, and that I need to go around challenging the guys that I like in order to find true love. And those were actually my beliefs as a teenager. But that's the complete opposite of how I think about those things now. And it all goes back to a very specific moment when I was 16 that completely changed my mind about feminism and my beliefs. You see, my parents' relationship had already fallen apart by then.
There we go. That's right there. That's the small seed right there. Very common, families just breaking apart in the 90s and the early 2000s. Very common.
Divorced. And the funny thing is that I actually come from quite a traditional household where my dad was mostly the breadwinner and my mom, she worked part-time to take care of the kids. But they had a very toxic relationship and they didn't respect each other at all. And I don't want to go too much into detail about that on the internet. But I saw their relationship and I thought, never in my life do I want such a horrible relationship with someone. And on top of that, I wasn't popular at all in school, also not with guys, and I also got bullied, and I was actually quite depressed as a teenager. I just remember thinking, my life really sucks. But around that time, I also discovered self-development content on YouTube. And I was especially interested in relationship stuff because I never really had a good example of what a healthy relationship is supposed to look like. And by accident, I came across this pickup artist YouTube channel. He was a Dutch guy giving dating advice to men. And I was kind of curious what kind of advice men get. So I watched a few of his videos, and to be honest, I was kind of shocked in the beginning because he kind of talked about women like they are objects, which I really didn't like. But the content was all about how to make women respect you and how to approach them in nightclubs and stuff, which is, by the way, the worst place to meet someone, in my opinion, if you want to meet a high quality person at least. I don't think you're going...
Yeah, but the easiest way to get laid. And during the early 2000s, even early, back when mystery method was coming into the scene, I remember there was a couple books about seduction, very little. I think David D'Angelo was was around. Also, you have David X. Some of these guys, they're just trying to put stuff together. But personally, guys, personally, I think this started in early 2000s, late 90s, with the mystery method, right? They somehow figure out ways to at least get a piece of the pie, because a lot of guys they were not having success. They were not having success, and not only that, they didn't have the skill because those skills never transferred to them. Never transferred. It was never transferred. So approaching girls in the club was the easiest way. Easiest way to just get something at least.
Going to find that in a nightclub. But the main thing I realized from watching his content is that men almost don't care at all about your career or about how much money you make. And what I also realized is how hard it is for a guy to actually approach a woman and deal with rejection. Because my god, that stuff is just ruthless. And this is something that most women just don't realize. Because we usually don't have to deal with rejection from guys to that degree. And where you almost have to fight for a woman to even notice you. Not to say that women don't deal with rejection, but it's a different kind of rejection. Usually later on when the woman realizes that the guy is actually not that serious about her. And I'm not saying that's necessarily always better, because that can also really emotionally damage you, but it's a different kind of rejection. But watching this dating advice for guys really changed my perspective on relationships, because I honestly didn't know what kind of struggles men had. I mean, I was 16, so I probably didn't really know anything about life, but still.
Yeah, I think 16 is too early to understand, how the world's working. Something else that we don't talk about and when we talk about feminism, how we don't talk about breakups, right? How society somehow, right, has figured out a way to never even correct the females when they do the breakups and they do the bunny hopping, right? The monkey branch. Girls that the next week they already have another guy, and this guy, I mean, for guy, I'm a man, so those things really give you a lot of fuel to be better, right? If you really want to put two things in concept, I think stuff like that, right, it gives men fuels to just be better. Huge fuel, like it's a kind of energy. But we don't talk about how even feminism opened the door to these kind of things where they break a relationship or divorce, all of a sudden they're with another guy, and the dignity of the man or the dignity of the family goes down to hell just because she feel like that. Right? That's another topic. I don't know if that's something that has to be discussed, but for guys that just go to breakups, man, hey, that's a great opportunity for you to be better, to be a better human, man. Make sure you get that energy and just transform.
And I kind of felt betrayed, as if I was finding out that Santa isn't actually real. So yeah, that really made me start my learnings about female and male relationship dynamics. Because I was very much aware of the fact that everything I'd learned about relationships up until that point was completely wrong. Either from my parents, from school, or from TV. And from that moment, I almost made it my life's mission to not fall into the trap of a miserable marriage. And I've learned so much from basically just watching YouTube videos. Not from pickup artists, by the way, but from more legit psychologists and dating experts. But I think it's very funny that pickup artist content was actually my first wake-up call that modern feminism is actually very toxic. And I was lucky to realize that very early on in my life, because I was only 16 and I hadn't really dated anyone yet, so it was before a lot of damage could be done. Yeah. The funny thing is that I actually get a lot of comments from people who think that my parents were just amazing and that they taught me all of this stuff, but the complete opposite is true. My motivation for learning about relationships came from a very deep desire to not repeat my parents' mistakes. Yep. And I have to say, it worked out great for me because I actually found love. But if I hadn't done all of that work, I'm pretty sure that I would have gone down a much darker path.
Yeah.
And that dark path is actually a reality for lots of women.
Damn.
And for men, of course, but in
Man, yeah, that's true. That's true. And I'm glad, but we have to talk about, the Western world. The Western world, we have to do something about this, guys. We cannot keep procrastinating this to the next generation. We have to do something about this, guys. Right now, because feminism has taken control even throughout political and cultural aspects, we are okay with female standards, which is not okay because it's coming from a place of fear and insecurity. We're not valuing what really matters, right? Morals and values that provide dignity to the human being. Female have their space when it comes down to culture, right? The culture that we decide as men, that need to be provided. We teach our women how to just keep that culture, and women, they just teach our kids how to keep that culture. But we have to be in a position of power, guys. We have to. Somehow we have to decide where to start. But I think these kind of information, these kind of videos is a great way to start, right? Think about this. We came so much, right? We came from the Kevin Samuels, we came from the Rollo Tomasis, Andrew Tate, even the current president-elect Donald Trump, to now talk about these things. It's a huge shift, and we have to take advantage of it, guys. Always with the truth, of course.
Different way, just because people don't know any better. And I would never claim that feminists are bad people. Feminists have just absorbed what their society tells them is true. And you can't blame people for wanting to be part of the culture they were born into. And of course, in the end, we're all responsible for our own actions and for fixing our own lives. Which I personally try to do as much as I can. At the end of the day, I'm just someone who's trying to figure out life just like you. I just want to share the insights I've gathered along the way. And apparently some people find that interesting, and if you're one of these people, you should really subscribe and watch this video next. Goodbye.
Very good. Hey, nice job for the young lady. Hey, you have a very good future ahead. Hopefully, I want God to bless your future, success. And also, if you decide to have kids, hopefully you do have not only 2 or 3, but have multiple kids. Make it that be the case. Guys, very good video. Feminism is a complete lie, guys. It's a complete lie. We all brought up to it. I mean, there's nothing better than knowing that. I don't know about you guys, but for me, knowing the truth is so refreshing. So refreshing. You know why? Because it gave me a sense of duty. You see, it gives me a sense of duty. The duty is to just provide this kind of information to other people. 1 is fine, 2 is fine. I think if I can reach 1 or 2 people with this truth and just inspire them to keep moving forward, man, that's my mission right there. That's my mission. But great video for the young lady. Man, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear your guys' opinion. I will see you next one.